Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm doing part 3 to the brother-in-law's version of the story of man leaves cheating wife in hotel with nothing, etc, etc. And guys, as you guys have been watching this all day, it has been quite the story. And where part 2 left off this afternoon, lots of frisky, revealing behavior was going on with Karen and Ellie, and Karen's description of their childhood and teenage years of fooling boyfriends and doing all sorts of frisky things with one another. And we're going to continue on and wrap this whole thing up. And let me tell you guys, this has been quite the story. The first version with Phil, and now Ken's part. And hopefully at the end of this story, Ken's going to be in a better place with us commenting on his stories here, and hopefully move forward with Phil and resolving this and moving on with their lives. Because it's been a hell of a shit show, for lack of a better term, that both these poor guys have been dealing with. So to continue on, says here, I waited for Karen to calm down. I asked Karen if Ellie ever told Karen that Phil knew that they were trading husbands. Karen said she asked Ellie once what Phil knew. Ellie said she thought Phil guessed what they were doing, but didn't know for sure. It wasn't something they ever talked about, not something Ellie could ask Phil. Phil did not know. I said in the beginning, I'm saying that now, and I'll say it at the end, Phil did not know. Because if you didn't know, bro, that you were hooking up with Ellie, how can you expect Phil to know that he was hooking up with Karen, you know? And they've had years to rehearse this and master their con. But anyhow. But Karen continued. Ellie called Karen and told her to tell me that Phil knew nothing about the husband swapping or any of Karen or Ellie's infidelity. Ellie was insistent that Karen do this. Ellie would not have done this unless Ellie was sure Phil did not know anything about any of this. Ellie thought it was better for both Karen and Ellie if I thought Phil knew about it all along. Divide the husbands, keep me blaming Phil for everything. Yes, thank you. It's called divide and conquer. That method has been used since the beginning of time. He says, more BS. We know from the SSM video that Phil forced Ellie to get Karen to tell me he didn't know. No. How could Phil not know? In the SSM videos, Phil tells us that Ellie told him about the boyfriend swapping in high school and college early on in their relationship. How could Phil not think it would continue with their husbands? Well, that, I will say, is a fair point. Okay? Phil should have realized at a young age that, hey, this is crazy. Why would I want to get involved with someone that would do this? She probably would do it to me. But then again, you know, at 22 years old, you met Karen. Do you think that certain things would turn you away? You know, think back to when you were younger here. Phil, that was a mistake of getting involved with Ellie after knowing that she and the sisters to swap boyfriends. But that doesn't mean that he would think that she was doing that in the marriage. Either he had deluded himself into thinking that Ellie would no longer continue the swapping, or he thought it was fun sleeping with my wife. Dude, he didn't know. And you didn't know either. You were banging Ellie, right? I don't mean to be harsh, but you got to understand that. I don't think anyone is capable of that much self-delusion. I think Phil told himself he was not absolutely 100% positive he was sleeping with my wife and not Ellie, so he just let it go on. If it was Karen he was sleeping with, it wasn't his fault the twins were playing games. I think he knew or strongly suspected he was sleeping with my wife. I just don't think so, and again, you were sleeping with Ellie. And you didn't know. I didn't believe for a second Karen's story about how Ellie pushed her to have sex with Ellie's boyfriends. What about the other guys that Karen was hooking up with? Karen didn't reluctantly go along with the ride much of the time. She was enthusiastically driving the car. Their games were too exciting. Right, that's what I was saying all along in part 2. She's throwing her sister under the bus here. Okay, and playing the victim. Now, sure, in relationships, like I said before, twins, you're going to have the more dominant one that happens. And I definitely think Ellie's the more vicious of the two. But I'm not buying for a second that it's all Ellie's fault and Karen's the victim here. Bullshit. Karen never told me about the boyfriend swapping, or that she was so S-word active in high school and college. If she had told me, I would have been out the door in seconds. That's why she didn't tell you. That's why a lot of gals don't tell guys. She knew what my reaction would be. Ellie didn't have the same qualms about telling Phil about her past. Since Phil didn't seem to care, he was probably okay with the husband exchanges too. No, he wasn't, dude. He wasn't. He was foolish at getting involved with Ellie after her telling him that and seeing the effed up situation with the girl's mother, the open relationship thing. But he was young. And a lot of guys, believe me, because I've been doing this for a long time, make dumbass mistakes when they're younger when they got a hot chick after them. After listening to the SSM videos and to Karen, I no longer believe that Karen or Phil knew they were making a baby. When Phil forced Ellie and then Karen to tell me about their infidelity, he knew I would get DNA tests. I would discover that Phil was my daughter's father, and that would bring huge liabilities for him. If he knew he was the father, he would not have wanted to open up that can of worms. Exactly. And by the way, I am so sorry, bro, about that happened. I mean, this is your daughter. No matter what, even though biologically she's not your daughter, she is your daughter. You raised her since she was a baby. You love her. She loves you. But she is Phil's biological daughter. And you guys are going to need to be allies and work together here and give her the best possible life and love. And keep those witches away from her. Karen thought she was pregnant already when she went to sleep with Phil for the last time. She was off the pill but thought she was pregnant, so it was safe to sleep with him. But I don't understand why she did what she did. Dude, don't even try to figure out why they do what they do. Since the Garden of Eden, men have been trying to figure out why women do what they do until the next asteroid hits the planet or the polar ice caps melt and we all die in a flood or something like that. Men are still going to be figuring out why not all, but a lot do what they do. Get in line. Telling me she was pregnant was second on her to-do list. Her first priority was banging Phil. When I asked her about this, she started wailing so loudly I thought someone on the street outside the neighbors might hear her. I just watched her, waited for her to reply. After a while, she was quieted down. She said she didn't think it made any difference if she waited one more day to tell me about the pregnancy. It had been a while since she and Ellie had traded husbands. Now that it was possible because Karen was pregnant, Ellie was pushing her. But Karen made a nice dinner for me the next night and told me the news. She asked how I remembered how happy I was. Yeah, I remember how happy I used to be. What were these people thinking? I understand Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 from SSM videos. That's where we are. Karen probably told Ellie she was pregnant, so switching husbands was possible again. No reason to hold off any longer. How about tonight or tomorrow night? Karen was more than ready to go. She can't wait. Explain how my wife thought that it was okay. Sleeping with Phil was the first thing she wanted to do when she thought she was pregnant. I just don't get it. Because your wife is an a-hole. And your wife is not the innocent victim in all this, even though she's throwing Ellie under the bus. I asked Karen if she slept with Phil after I threw her out when she was staying with Phil and Ellie. Karen went to get some water, and when she came back, she was calmer. Yeah, because she has some time to think up some BS answers. Karen's had something good to tell me finally. She said Phil asked her at one point if she wanted to come to bed with him. Phil said Karen no longer with me. I threw her out. And Phil was no longer with Ellie, so why not? They were both single and free. They had already hooked up, so why not continue? Karen said Phil said this in front of Ellie. Phil knew this was not going to happen. He just did it to piss Ellie off. That's exactly why he did it. No, Karen said, she didn't sleep with Phil. She would never sleep with any other man but me again. Again, the nose is growing. Karen really smiled when she told me this. What a good girl she was. For once in her life, she turned down SCX. Probably the first and last time. As long as she has looks, she ain't going to be turning down the SCX. The most important thing to me are my children. I'm concerned my daughter has a mother like Karen. I don't want her to have a Karen as a role model. I think daughters do become their mothers. Karen and Ellie embody their mother's morals. I didn't think Uncle Fred is their mother's only boyfriend. Karen confirmed that he isn't. She has lots of lovers over the years, like mothers, like daughters. Yeah, I didn't think their mom had just one boyfriend. There was no way. But Karen and Ellie may have been even worse than their mother. I fear for my daughter. I don't want Karen or her family infecting my daughter with their immorality. Am I going to have to worry about getting my daughter off a stripper pole one day? Dude, you might. This is why you and Phil need to work together and get them away from, believe me, a lot of charges can be brought on those two for the things they were doing. Good lawyer and all. So I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to fight to keep Karen, Ellie, and her parents away from my kids as much as I can. The lawyer knows I'm not my daughter's biological father. I asked him if that would be a problem with custody. He asked whose name is on the birth certificate. Mine. Who raised her for 3 years? And who does she call daddy? Me. Is the biological father seeking custody? No. Your wife got pregnant when she tricked your brother and in-law into thinking she was his wife. Yes. He said, we'll start and finish there when we get in front of the judge. The judge isn't going to take your daughter away from you because you're not her biological father. My attorney said getting me full custody is an uphill battle. We will end up before a judge because we have minor children. There will be background checks and interviews with our daughter. My son is too young to interview. The lawyer says I can't prevent Karen from seeing the kids. The fight will be over who the kids live with. Judges generally want the kids to live with their mother. Well, we know that. I told him that I want to use whatever we can on Karen to keep that from happening. I told him about the video of Karen's confessions. He asked why Karen is living in our home and raising the kids now. I invite her back in the house to take care of them. A judge will look at that and tell me that would tell me I have Karen raising the kids. Why shouldn't she continue to do that after the divorce? That's a good point. Again, if you got a darn good lawyer, listen to your lawyer. I said she's their mother. I need help with the kids. But I thought she was just a cheating wife. I didn't realize she was also a criminal. When I found out she was a criminal, I started interviewing nannies to take care of the kids full time. I've settled on one. I'm getting Karen out of the house. Good, brother. Good. What did Karen say about the nanny? I told him I brought the nanny home to introduce her to the kids. I didn't introduce the nanny to Karen. After she left, Karen asked who she was. I told Karen it was none of her business. Karen is not in a position to insist on answers. Well, it doesn't mean she's not going to try. We can tell the judge about Karen's infidelity and husband swapping. I want to do everything I can to prevent them from living with Karen. That's more important to me than fighting over alimony or splitting up the assets. He said judges don't take kids away from their moms unless there's something that endangers the kids. Well, I think there's plenty that can be presented about endangering the children. I asked, does infidelity endanger the kids? Shouldn't that be disqualifying? He said a judge isn't going to take the kids away from Karen just because she's a serial cheater. That's not enough. My lawyer then asked what I meant by Karen being a criminal. I didn't want to do this, but I want my kids to live with me. I don't think I had a choice. I told him that Karen gave her twin sister her driver's license to get on a plane. Oh boy, here we go. This was Phil's insurance policy, just in case Ellie decided to get vicious. I explained the circumstances. He says that's serious enough for the judge can't ignore it. That might just get me full custody, but it will be very, very messy. Well, this whole saga has been one giant mess. Karen said she's now told me everything. There is no way in hell that Karen has told you everything. She could be talking to you round the clock for 17 years, and you're still not going to get everything. We can begin our marriage anew. Can she now have that hug I promised? I wouldn't want to touch her. You would need Marty McFly's radiation suit and a chemical shower for 5 weeks after you touch her. Jesus. I don't care how hot she is. I told her just the idea of her touching me made me physically ill. I want her out of the house. She'll be able to see the kids when I say, but she has to leave. We're divorcing. Good for you. Get it out of her. And let me guess. A meltdown follows. Karen says she's not leaving. It's her house too. I told her she gave Ellie her driver's license and Ellie used it to get on a plane. I'm going to inform the authorities. It's a serious crime. I want her out of my house and I want the kids to live with me now and after the divorce. The judge won't be able to reward the kids to her because she'll be in jail with her sister. Whew. Playing hardball now, my man. You have to. You've been forced to play hardball. Karen asked me how I could do this to my wife and the mother of my children. Oh yeah? How could you do all that to the father of your children? Or at least the father of one of your children? I told her I don't consider my wife anymore. She was never my wife. She's nothing to me. And I wish she was not the mother of my kids. I can't imagine a worse person raising my kids. If I could remove her completely from the children's lives, I would do that. The crime she committed with Ellie might just be enough to get her out of my kids' lives. Karen said I promised we'd try reconciling. That's why she was so candid about her past. Yeah, well, you promised to love me and honor me, in sickness and health, rich or poor, against all other, whatever the fuck the wedding vows are. You promised me that. Look how you handled those vows and your promises. She said she is so sorry about her behavior, but would get help and we could be happy again. She can make me happy. Like I said, she's ill. She'll get help for her problems and never cheat again. I don't think she can go 5 freaking minutes without getting some sausage. I told her there's no cure for what she has. We are divorcing. She can only make me happy by keeping as far away from me as she can. Karen curled into a ball on the couch and started crying. I went to watch SSM videos. Well, good for you. The more you watch these videos, man, and I'm honestly not trying to promote my channel here. I'm saying I have 1,300 videos in this channel, 500 in that They Did What channel, and 300 or something in the SSM Clips. You're going to learn something. You're going to become a Jedi Master at this shit. You watch enough of the videos. When I went to get something to eat later, she was still in a ball on the couch crying. Her tactic is to cry and cry and cry until you finally feel bad for her and come over and there, because her perception of you is you're eventually going to cave. I made my sandwich and told her to start packing. I need the room she's in for the nanny that I hired. I went back to the videos. I had to use my headphones because her bawling got so loud. Dude, why didn't you record that and send that to me? Ellie, as Karen's attorney, called me to tell me I can't force Karen out of the house and that what she and Karen did in Santa Fe was not a crime. I hung up on her. I also have an attorney. Ellie should not be calling me directly. I blocked her cell and work numbers. Good. Don't engage with her. That's it. But she'll probably show up at your house. Karen signed the separation agreement and moved out 3 days ago. Sweet, bro. I guess she and Ellie decided that what they did to get Ellie on the plane in Santa Fe was a crime. Karen's at her parents with Ellie. The kids live with me now. The nanny and the housekeeper I hired is now living in the house with us. She's an older woman who I think is perfect for the kids. We have similar ideas about raising kids. The kids seem to like her. The kids miss their mother, but Karen sees them on Saturdays and picks them up for dinner a couple times a week. I'd still be very careful, man, because you've heard stories, and I don't want to get too graphic here because this is YouTube. I gotta watch what I say, where these wacko, desperate moms pick up the kids, and well, you can figure out what happens. The next thing you know, they're on the news, right? Just be careful. Karen is not allowed to bring the kids to her parents. The separation agreement prohibits any contact with either Karen's parents or Ellie with my kids. Karen's mother called me to complain about this. I answered because I had something I wanted to tell her. I listened to her inform me I can't keep her from seeing her grandchildren. One child is not even mine. She and Karen will raise her granddaughter. I wasn't her father, so Ellie says I have no claim on her. Well, you're on the birth certificate. She's sending Karen right now to pick up her granddaughter and bring her to Karen's mother's. I should pack up her granddaughter's clothes immediately. I interrupted her and said, you have no grandchildren. I won't let my children have any contact with a piece of crap like you. Good for you, man. She interrupted me and indignantly told me I can't speak to her like that. I replied, how else am I supposed to speak to a human toilet? That's a good one. Why would I let a W-H-O-R-E near my kids? I told her to go F herself and hung up on her. I blocked the number. She'll never see my kids again. Awesome, man. Look at the strength these guys have when they are pushed too freaking far. Shortly after her mother's call, Karen came to take the kids to dinner. I told her to tell her mother that if her mother contacts me again or I hear from her a lawyer about having access to my kids, she'll be visiting her daughters in jail. Nice one. If Karen allows her parents or Ellie near my kids, she will have violated our separation agreement and she will not be able to see the kids at all. I have not heard from her mother since. Sweet. I'm proud of you, man. One thing about narcissists is that they think the rules apply to them. The rules don't apply to them. If they're dishonest in one area of their life, like cheating on their spouses, they're going to be deceitful in most other areas and things they do. Yes, I agree with that. Fidelity, honesty, and loyalty do not apply to them. No rules apply to them. They think they will never have to face accountability. Karen's dishonesty is catching up with her. I'm going to hold her accountable. Yes, and never give an inch, ever. Thank you, Phil, for talking about Ellie and Karen's crime in the SSM videos. Sorry if you wanted to use this later, but these are my kids we're talking about. You can always still use the ticket you have when you need to use it. Also, sorry about the noise you're probably going to get from Ellie. I know this has some adverse implications for you. If she is fired from her law firm and has nothing else to lose, Ellie could go after you for trapping her in the hotel in Santa Fe. But again, this is my kids' lives we're talking about. I've talked with Phil about this. He says he's not worried about the Santa Fe stuff. Ellie won't risk a scandal that makes her look bad. Besides, she wasn't trapped. She managed to find her way home. Just did it illegally. It would have taken more time, but she could have done it legally. Of course she could. Come on here. We're almost done, guys. Phil and I have talked about using the plane ticket in the future. I say use it, but only after we're both divorced. If Phil uses it before I'm divorced, I'll probably get stuck with Karen's legal fees. Community property, but use it after we're both divorced. If Phil doesn't want to use it, I told him to give the ticket to me. I will use it. But I don't really need the ticket to get an investigation opened. I know the date this happened from the SSM video. It's easy to prove Ellie was in Santa Fe and that Karen could not have been the one who boarded the plane. But the ticket will make starting an investigation easier. Regardless of who turns them in, these two pieces of crap have it coming. They certainly do, man. And by the way, yes, you are the husbands and fathers, but there are plenty of other guys they screwed over before. Obviously, in no way, shape, or form the magnitude the way they screwed you guys over, but there's plenty of other guys they've hurt. You know, karma deserves to bite them a big bite in their tight little asses. My daughter knows me as her dad. She'll know eventually that Phil is her biological father. When should I have this discussion with her? How much should I let Phil into her life and when? I'm thinking when she starts college. I'm for Phil having no involvement with my daughter until she's 18 years old. But will she hate me for not being honest with her about this sooner? It is a big thing to find out about yourself 18 years later. Anyone else has been through this. I guess this is similar to deciding when to tell an adopted child that they are adopted. Except in my case, my daughter's parentage does not reflect well on her mother. Any advice about this would be welcome. Well, bro, I'll be honest with you. I'd love to give you advice on that, but I honestly don't know. I know a gal who found out, I believe, in her late 30s that she was adopted. The dude that was who she thought was her biological dad, wasn't her dad. And she was very shocked, but she still loved him just as much. You know? So in your situation, your daughter finds out one day that technically you're not the biological dad. You know, I hope it's the same thing. And they have a great relationship. But any of you guys can advise on that, please do, because that's out of my area expertise. Did Phil know they were switching husbands? I'm sure he did. No, I don't believe he did. The same way you didn't know you were banging Ellie. And these girls had years to master their craft here. Let it go. I know this is hard. You and Phil got to work together, man. How could he not know after hearing about their behavior in high school and college? Because he was naive enough to think that she would stop for him. As a lot of guys that think that the girl's past is the past and she'll not do those things with him. He was young and dumb. And you were hooking up with Ellie and obviously didn't know it was Karen. And he knew about their WHORE of a mother. He knew or strongly suspected and played along with their game. No, not buying it. I met Phil's father at family functions. He's a no-nonsense guy. Phil could have talked to his father when he first learned about Karen and Ellie's crazy sex life and their mother's marriage. I'll bet he didn't. Phil knew what his father would have told him. Phil didn't want to hear it. You have as much information now as I do about Phil knowing about our wives trading husbands. I think he knew. What do you think? Well, I've addressed that about 16,000 times in the video, and I'll address it again. No, I don't think Phil knew. Okay? Phil knew at the very end and had Karen call you and the whole thing here. No. Again, years to master their craft, their con. They loved it. It was exciting and fun to them. Okay? They practiced on boyfriends in high school and college, and then the Grace throws husbands. Okay? Like I said, it's like the movie The Prestige. And then eventually, he's hooking up with Karen, you're hooking up with Ellie, round and round you go. You know it's Karen, right? So, bro, I get you're angry, I get all those things. I don't know what it's like to feel that way, but still, you got to work together with Phil. And now it's moving on, it's getting through this divorce and getting the best possible terms for you, but more importantly, your children. Hopefully you can get sole custody to keep them away from these wackos and their wacko grandma. But remember, they want you and Phil to be divided because you work together, you're stronger. But you're divided, that makes it easier for them. So keep that in mind. And so I want you going forward to just don't do anything rash. Listen to your lawyer and follow his or her good advice. And work with Phil, and when the time is ready with regards to your daughter and all that, you can handle it accordingly. But don't do anything rash. That's the worst thing you want. And don't trust these two broads for a second. As I said before, they are masters of manipulation and drama and turmoil, and they enjoy it. They love it. And don't fall for the fucking tears from Karen. And at this point, you're not. And I hope you can get through all this. So that's all I really have to say. And you got to work with Phil. And to start, I don't believe he knew. he knew at the very end, and that whole thing saying, hey, let's sleep with Karen one more time, that he didn't mean that. He was doing it to piss Ellie off, you know? And nobody can blame you for being furious and assuming the worst. Nobody can blame you. So I'm going to wrap this up now, and you can read all the comments from all 3 videos I'm doing today, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of comments. And the guys here, because I'm not, they're guys that are been through more shit than I have and are more experience. I can't think of everything, and these guys, you'll hear the comments from dudes all over the world, and they'll be able to help you out here, and I wish the best. So I really appreciate you writing your story, and it takes guts. And like I said, all the other guys in my videos are going through fucking hell. Gotta take it day by day, stay strong for your kids. Do things that make you happy. Join a gym, exercise. Don't fall into drinking and drugs and eating shit all the time will make you worse. Spend time with people you truly know have your back and love you, family members, friends. And take it day by day. End your freaking story. And every time you may feel weak, think of your kids. Stay strong. Be their rock. Be their mountain, whatever. And you can get through this. And it's going to be hell, but you will get there. And you want to write me down the road, let me know how things are going. You can. I hope to hear from you, but don't let them divide you. Don't let them divide you guys. You're stronger working together than apart. Trust me. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let this guy know what you think. Let me know what you think. Really take some time to write to this guy, and hopefully you can help him out. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.